Hello, in this video, I'll cover how to use the Wyse Management Suite to configure a Wyse ThinOS device for connection to a VMware Horizon 7 environment. So let's look at my Wyse Management Suite server and open the console. And we'll see that in some of previous videos, I actually created a group called Corp Root. The Corp Root group has some basic settings, namely it will set a visual experience to set a blue background that has the word Corp Root in it. It also will upgrade the Thin client to the latest firmware. Let's move to the DHCP and review the changes that we made there. I created 3 custom option tags that will tell any client that connects the WMS server and the group to go into. So now we can look at our Corp Root, and we're going to create a new group underneath that. We're going to call that one VMware Horizon View. Now, any group that's created as a child group of the Corp Root will automatically inherit any settings or policies that have been applied to that. So this one would get the default background, for example, and it would also get the settings to upgrade the firmware. So one of the things that I'll do is I'll actually change this to a new visual experience. So let's go ahead and enable the group, and we'll set it with a group token. I typically like to give the token the same name as my group. That's just something I prefer to do, so my token will be DEFA-VMware Horizon View. Let's go ahead and save that group, and then now we'll go over to Edit Policies and select ThinOS. And you can see it's inherited some settings there, but let's go into the visual experience. And now where the wallpaper is enabled, we're going to go ahead and just say we're going to disable the wallpaper. And then I'm also going to change the visual experience from the 0 Launchpad to the VMware View visual experience. And I'll change the setting for the action after all sessions exit. We'll say to go ahead and sign off automatically from the Thin client. Once we've done that, we can save and publish the policy. And let's go in one more time, and now we're going to edit the policy to set some new settings. Namely, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down, and under remote connections there's a setting for VMware Broker. We'll go ahead and configure this item, and we're going to specify the VMware View connection server broker URL. You can see what that is. That was in some of the previous videos. We manually did this, but now we're going to push out that setting using Wyse Management Suite. And we're going to leave the security mode to warning. Because we are leaving it to warning, we need to make sure that we account for the security certificate, which I'm going to upload into our software repository and apply it. So let's go ahead and save and publish this setting. And now we can move over to security. We're actually going to go into apps and data, and we need to make sure that we add that security certificate. So we hit add file, we browse and find the security certificate. Make sure if you need an intermediate and root certificate, you get the entire security certificate chain. In this case, I just need the one certificate. So I'll go ahead and I'm uploading it to my software repository now. Now that it's uploaded, it would be available so I can assign it as a policy. So I edit the policy, and I go under security, and I go ahead and configure this item. One thing to point out is the privilege level has now been set to none by default as soon as I enable this security policy. So since that's the case, I'll go ahead and leave that, which is a good idea, but I'll go ahead and enable admin mode. And this just sets a local password if I need to make any local configuration changes to the device. I'll go ahead and encrypt the credentials for that. And I also want to auto install certificates. So now I can do that, and I can check off that Demo 5 cert. And while I'm here, let's go ahead and set a VNC password. That was one of the things that was set by default as soon as I enabled the security policy. So since we've enabled VNC, let's have a password, set the maximum connections to 1. And as long as we're here, we'll go ahead and enable the quick mode. And once that's done, we can go ahead and save and publish this security policy. So this security policy is assigned to the group VMware Horizon View, and we currently have a device that's in the Corp Root group. So you can see the device. This is switching back to my Wyse 3040 running ThinOS, and we can see the device. If we go under devices, we can see that device here, and we can see that it's in the group corp root. So now if I go to more actions, I can select change group, and from the drop down list I'll go ahead and say this device should be in the VMware Horizon View group, click OK. And if we go over to the device, what we're going to notice is that device will then be contacted by the Wyse Management Suite server, and then it will reboot and apply any policy settings that are applied with its new group association. So we'll wait a minute while it does that. It's going to need to reboot. You can see now it's making changes. It's also installed the security certificate. That was one of the things that happens as being part of the VMware Horizon group. It disables the background and it sets it just to the black. And then it also specifies the VMware Horizon View connection server. So once it gets that connection server information, it now will prompt the user to log in. And I can tell the certificate's installed correctly because I've got the green on the HTTPS. So I'll go ahead and log in with one of my test users. And I left the default settings, so it's only going to use the protocol specified as a default protocol in the pool settings, which is BLAST, and it makes a connection to my Windows 10 desktop. If I log out of my Windows 10 desktop, remember I set the actions on the last session that closes to automatically log you out of the Thin client. So it should log out of the session and then log out of the Thin client. So I hope this video was useful. It shows you how easy it is to use the Wyse Management Suite to push out any settings that are needed to configure a Wyse ThinOS client to connect to a VMware Horizon 7 environment, and then from there connect to a view-based desktop pool running Windows 10. Thank you for watching the video, and have a great day.